once again, thank you very much, Daniel, for organizing the event again and having us here. It's really fantastic. I like the level of knowledge which we get from here every year. So I think it's really a high-quality conference. So about myself a bit, if you grab the Kamailio sources, my name is a bit misspelled inside. If you do some Bogos, you will find a lot of entries with my name, but just misspelled. So I used to say that I'm made for networking, but remember it's 2-0. We as a company, we are located in Bavaria, here in Germany. We got over 10 years of experience with doing servers in VoIP world. We have done both retail as well as wholesale. And based on this, CGRateS came up. We were in need of providing some billing solution for the platforms which we were doing. And since we could not find in the open source world what we were looking for, we decided that we develop one by ourselves. Important to say it's that we try to educate ourselves to really take the live system outages seriously. About CGRateS, it's a combination of words. It's real time. It's enterprise because it's very customizable, and it's a billing suite. So it's not a billing system, it's a suite. You get many components which you can combine. You can use it as doing like a puzzle work. And it's pluggable into existing infrastructure, so flexible enough. And it should be able to accommodate new components easily into some operator's network. We try and we are non-intrusive into existing setups, so we don't force yourself routing your traffic through a switch of our choice. We simply exchange information with the switches. So the end decision is always on your side, whether you use the information from CGRateS, as I will show you today, or not. It's always up to you. It's all open source software. We have the full sources available on GitHub. We have no add-ons in private repositories. And we have consideration for community contributions. So we consider that our community is one of the valuable assets which we have. And this is one more reason why we keep everything public, because we get a lot of help from community side. It's a performance-oriented software, so it has its own advanced caching system built in, capable of doing transactions, LRU, like least record used. So the data is cached, and if you don't use it, it will be automatically expiring. Like we count the number of data which we can keep, or which you configure to keep in cache. As soon as the data gets filled, then we expire always the least used data. Then we also support ETL records, so we expire based on time. You can configure things like destinations or prices to stay in memory for like 1 day and then automatically expire. And this happens behind the scenes for you. All the requests are handled in an asynchronous manner. We do what Golang calls micro-threads. So even every single request is asynchronous. Our biggest challenge is to synchronize the data and not to make it asynchronous. It's a test-driven development project. This is also our secret why we can do so big code base with a small development team. We got today, or at last count, there were more than 4,000 tests. We have tests which are run every time we do a commit on GitHub by Travis, if you are aware. Then we got tests of integration with various databases. Then we get test calls with various systems which we support. So there are a lot of tests out there. The architecture, it's modular. So it should be cloud ready. You can run it everywhere you like, including Docker containers and stuff which are trendy in today's network environment. Then you can run it, the processes which we do are like microservices oriented with rich set of APIs. So everything what we do is through APIs. We actually don't have a GUI. We tried to do one, and we kind of lost on the way because there is so much functionality in the engine, and also a GUI tends to give the feeling of a product, so you follow a specific business logic. Our customers are mostly interested to build the billing system themselves because they like to show their own touch as well as their own value. So nobody should know what's behind. And it's pretty easy to enhance specific components. If you don't like a component which we wrote, or you want to add something else and you are not a Golang developer, you can simply replace that because you just take it out of connection chain and put in your own stuff. It's a feature-rich software. We are what people are saying online charging system. We also are calling ourselves offline charging, so we can do both. We have multi-tenancy support from day one. Rating engine with what we call derived charging and A-number rating. This derived charging, it's important if you want to do reseller or distributor rating. So you can have rating done in real time, including prepaid sessions for your customer, for your distributors, for their customers. So at the end of the session, in real time, you can even send to your distributors their CDRs. So you can end up with being a middleman and give them the opportunity to have all the CDRs in real time on their side already. A-number rating was a hot topic because you are able to charge differently if the originator is from Europe or not, or from US or not, and so on. Account bundles, or how we call balances. And this is done in a flexible way. You can have unlimited balances and with a lot of types. So we support data charging, SMS charging, calls. We even have a generic which has some formula that you automatically deduct based on some rules. So you can end up charging, I don't know, cars if you want to sell cars and bill it with CGRateS. Sessions, so we do session or event charging with balance reservation and refunds. So all these things happen behind scene. If we reserved too much balance, we will be giving it back at the end of the call. We have plugins or what we call agents into major open source VoIP systems. We got CDR logging with support for interim record, CSV, a lot of plugins there available as well. We have online CDR replication. We named this feature rating queues because you can get the CDR, for example, from Kamailio, rated in CGRateS and exported in the same moment back to your, let's say, HTTP server or your RabbitMQ. And by doing this, you don't need to replace the billing infrastructure which you have. because you will get a CDR like coming from Kamailio. You get it a few milliseconds later, and it's already charged. It's having already a rating tag on it. So we think this feature it's a trendy one and useful. We do fraud detection with automatic mitigation. I've already spoken a few times here about it. LCR with some advanced QoS strategies. LCR over bundles, so you can, if you receive from your suppliers some bundle available over weekend or overnight, LCR will be smart enough to take that into consideration and use the bundle in the night or when that one is active. Also LCR over call patterns, so you don't need to calculate LCR for 1 minute, but you can, if your ACD is 5 minutes, you can do that as well. So the suppliers will be correctly ordered. Event statistics, this is another interesting topic. It gives you an overview of your traffic. So you can have something like ACD, ASR, average call cost, total call cost for the last 1 hour, last 1 day, for your customer, for your supplier, anything you like. It's doable because these statistics are simple objects in memory, so they are fast, and it doesn't matter really how much you have there. Then as plugins, we have also diameter and radius server support. This is also an interesting topic because it's used by MVNOs, diameter especially for IMS networks, and also radius, some ideas for Wi-Fi authorization. So you have only one place where you do all your authentication and authorization in your network, even if you do various services. So even if you have separate SMS or data or voice systems, you still can build them in a centralized in a centralized place. Then resource allocation controller, if you need to count things like number of channels per specific destination at specific time, if you need to count your suppliers, if they behave or not. So these are doable via resource controller. We have built in also high availability support, and we like developing software. We are passionate about that, so we are pretty agile in developing new features. If you have a crazy idea, please don't hesitate to put it on our GitHub. A bit about the activity. You can see it all started well for us with our first Kamailio World attendance. So we are very happy we came here because we started developing seriously after that. And this is why we come every year back again. Also the commits, you can see since 2002, they are pretty stable, almost. So this was the time I told you we were at Kamailio World. And it's very hard to find days when we didn't commit. So you will see even today or last week that we are committing seriously, and we always find new features and new improvement into the software. Some architectural overview. You can see some plugins which we use to interact with outside world. For example, diameter, radius, asterisk agent, free switch agent, Kamailio agent, something to communicate with OpenSIPs. It's managed by CGR sessions, and this will send, let's say, CDR to CDR server, which can also receive CDRs from all over the place, for example, from your suppliers sending you CSV CDRs. So we get them then processed via multiple modules of CGRateS or subsystems, how we call them. You should know that each subsystem can run independently, so each of these subsystems can be a separate server located on a separate hardware, because they all talk between themselves via APIs. So either they talk within the same process, it's more optimized, but if you need to scale up, you should be able to do that because, as I said, each component is a standalone service. And in the end, after processing with rating and stats, it's being sent to thresholds for fraud detection, and then posted maybe if you have warnings or anything detected wrongly via HTTP post to your host. When it comes to CGRateS, it can store on our side, or if you are concerned about privacy or anything else, this is optional, so you can do online export towards your own server and then do whatever you want with the CDRs from that point. Attributes is what I came today to talk about it. Everybody who told me your idea sounds crazy. It's not exactly that, because it has an interest behind, like a commercial interest behind. People wanted not to use so many systems, like so many databases, data spread all over modules. And then we came up with this subsystem which holds data and acts as a database. It's a fast database, as you will see. It's able to personalize requests with stored attributes. It has generic filters for matching queries, so the event which comes there is not predefined. You send any event like a hash to it, and it will just match the filters which you configure on the other side. So it's completely flexible, and we don't look into it as software. Then you can add or replace, like act as an alias server for requests. You can also control and make sure that attributes are matched, so you can put a mandatory flag and make the request fail if you don't match it. And you can also replace multiple fields in one request. It's the type of attribute value store, so it's unlimited in size, and it's borrowing concepts out of LDAP or diameter world. We do also context-based data aliasing. This is a nice way for you to filter based on context. And you have here various points in the code also when you can influence via attributes. This is some attribute profile request. One of the appliances for these attributes is also doing LRN or number portability. We have recently been involved in a pretty large project with number portability. We were handling the number portability database completely in CGRateS, like 20 million numbers, and these were served in real time. So the event was coming, hitting the database, and the answer was coming in like nanoseconds or milliseconds time back to the switch. Then this is a sample of how you can set via APIs the data, and some process event reply, where you can see that there were some fields modified. So from original event, which was having a destination like a phone number, you get back the carrier ID, which is useful in case of number portability. Regarding Kamailio CGRateS integration, it should be fast. You know already how fast Kamailio is. I cannot claim that speed in CGRateS because CGRateS is still Go. It's not really pure C, but we are pretty fast as people testified as well. We do all asynchronously, so this is very compatible with CGRateS as well. So we get events via evapi from Kamailio, and we serve data from cache or cache the data on demand. So only the first request gets queried. And just that you know, we use as database Redis. So for us, the Redis is the slow part, because all the data, it's in CGRateS cache, in memory already. So we don't hit that much the network when we do queries. Flexible, you don't have predefined fields, as I told you. The fields added to event will reach CGRateS processing, and we have you can also have pool of connections for automatic failover. It's bidirectional communication, so calls can be disconnected also from CGRateS side via events. how to use attributes with Kamailio. What's the advantage of this? It's homogeneous management. You have no database or other modules needed on Kamailio side. So you just load Kamailio as maybe as a transactional server, and everything else is done in CGRateS. So you have no blocking on any other module forcing you. Then the communication itself is optimized. You hit the CGRateS with only one query. So whether you do a call, in that call we will also return the password which you can use to match your invites, and we will also give you additional information like the suppliers which you can use, like the resources available, or pseudo variables, and this is the example of a database, pseudo variables which you can set in your Kamailio. So you automatically download user profile via these queries. You can also have selective replies. You can have different routes for different purpose. For example, register you can authorize if you like, different than invite. Some idea about that is if you have like a lot of IoT devices which just need to register and they should never call out, you simply, instead of blocking them on calls, you simply set different password for registers versus invites. It's just an idea. There are tons of others which you can use. I don't know if I still have time. Yeah, I have like 5 minutes for a quick demo. All the files of this demo are on our GitHub. You have a tutorial regarding Kamevapi there, and all the data should be there. So if you want to try it yourself, feel free to do that. In the demo, I'll show you a bit of register handling, different than invite. This invite will also return you account profile with some other details which can show up later in CDR. Also will provide maximum usage for your call and will give you a list of suppliers back. In terms of CDR, you will see the build CDR as well as extra information received via this process of authorization. So we get first the data from CGRateS via authorization, and we also save it in the CDRs. Okay, so let me see how lucky I am to also work. So I have here a Kamailio server, and I'll open my Jitsi, which I hope it works. Otherwise, okay, so this is funny. Huh? I think it's due to...
No more prices from James on crashes. So.
Yeah. So.
Can we join in? Can we join in your demo?
It's on VMs locally on my machine. So.
That's not really
Yeah.
dangerous, is it?
I can show you a bit because it already produced an authorization request, so I can already show you about the demo. So you can see an event coming from Kamailio, doing a context of simple authorization, and the reply route will be in the simple authorization reply. So it's a separate route in Kamailio, and you can see as that's the second, and you get a simple authorization reply, and unfortunately it does not match any data on CGRateS side. So that's because the data was not loaded. I just loaded the data, which I prepared before, but it's all in the file. And let me try to make it up now. So okay. Yeah, so most probably my demo did not work correctly. So
You said you didn't want to do that just now.
yeah, so in the end, I did it. But the files are there. So in the event, normally I have a screenshot of that event somewhere. And you see that the attributes will come back as serialized, like password. Of course, you can put here not the plain one, but the digest one. But I just did a simple. You can enforce the request type, and you will get here a list of your suppliers and some other details. And these details will show up also in the CDRs, because these are the events which are producing the CDRs. All this is operational now. So even if not, I cannot show you. So I think that was about all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. Questions now, because here, one.
Hi. About the database, how are you configuring Kamailio to go to your database, to go to CGRateS database?
Yes? So you define the EVAPI here, bind address, and CGRateS will bind to Kamailio. So CGRateS dials back. So it's like configuring the bidirectional information.
Okay, so you are like capturing the authentication events via EVAPI and are responding back?
Yes, so, sorry. In the session, you see here session auth request,
Yeah.
and you get in the session auth reply, this is the EVAPI enforced event. You get here you parse some variables, and you do the authorization after that. So when you do that, you already have the information from CGRateS regarding your password. And then in the
And that is done where? On the parsing?
The parsing is done I can show you quick.
It's done in the auth part.
AVP password is what CGRateS sets, because all what comes from CGRateS is set in AVPs.
Okay.
So this is the parsing. If you are fancy seeing it, it's a while which separates on
The first column, yeah.
Because you saw there was a serialized data. And by doing this while loop, you get all the attributes from CGRateS as pseudo variable in Kamailio.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I think it's time for you to grab Dan after, so we don't run late, because apparently there are some pilot strike or some flights delayed, and a lot of people need to rebook, so they need to leave quicker. So grab Dan outside for more questions. We are now ready for Alexander.